Hey everyone, how's it going? Octopus here and welcome back to evercrisis. So, new banners are out. Both Glenn's and Zack's weapons are here. They're really good, but they also have a weird place amongst everything else. We got costumes for them as well. Some of them are looking okay, some of them looking kind of weird. I don't know, I'm not a fan of one of them, so we'll talk about it. We'll talk about its stats and all the meta, but then honestly, in the end, I'm gonna tell you this straight up. Pull for who you want in this game. The game is pretty straightforward. I know it seems like some people are stronger than others. People have overboost weapons. It's coming straight down to how much you farm, your level 80 weapons, level 90 weapons, having the right R ability stack. It's not about overboosting. Overboosting is that big end game that gives you that extra strength, but just having the right weapons on your wish list and just having one copy of them makes a huge difference. So before we go into this pull or skip video, just pull if you like the costume, pull if you like the character. Who cares about the meta? I'm gonna give you the meta, but who cares about it? Have fun with the game, because today you like it, tomorrow it's gone. From shutting down or you got bored of it. So enjoy it while you got it. Let's jump in. Alright, so rule number one when you're pulling for these banners is costume is first. Do you like the costume? Does a costume increase how much damage you're gonna do? Is it gonna give you that up level in your game? Go for it, right? If it's just a weapon, wait and pull on another banner with these weapons in the wish list because you want to save all your gems towards the 12 stamp for guaranteed costume. So costumes are key to every banner. I know it may seem tempting, you want it now, but if you don't really need it now to pass the quest, then why take the chance of pulling a bunch in here, not getting it? I know you can pull up to 6 stamps and get a guaranteed weapon, but you can also just wishlist it while getting another costume from another banner. So my grand advice, what I use on both my accounts, and they're both free to play, is I don't pull unless I'm pulling for the costume. If you really want that weapon and you want to guarantee because the wishlist has been giving you terrible luck, then you're going to have to pull at max 6 times if you have really terrible luck with stamps. So with that out of the way, let's talk about the Black Whiskers. This is Say Hello. This is Say Hello. This is the first pay to win weapon in the game. And why do I say that? Because this thing has everything, but it also has everything in different levels. So your base weapon, level 90, you're going to get physical defense down mid-tier, max mid-tier, not high tier. And then water resist, we got a new water resist weapon. That's good. So there's like thunder, there's ice, and now there's water resist down. Rip wind. But it is low potency. And its max is still low potency. So that means 1 tier. This is the equivalent of your crisis dungeon if you go to exchange and you get like the fire breach or you grab the thunder breach materia. That's the equivalent of just slapping a materia on a character. So that isn't the greatest, but it can be good. If you overboost this 6 times, 6 copies, you now make this mid into mid, which isn't good, and then you make water resist down into mid. And now if you increase this to max 11 copies, that's when you get water resist down to high. This is your first pay to win weapon in the game. And everyone that's free to play can get this to 11 copies, put it on every wish list, every pull you do, all the weapons weapon parts you get from events. You'll eventually get this to max if you really want that water resist. But when you give it to something like Seaside Caller or Lucia's weapon, they come with it automatically, right? So if you look at Bald Eagle just level 90, 1 cast does mid, 2 cast does high. So you can get high potency with this weapon. You can't get high potency with Zack's new weapon unless you have 11 copies. So that's what I call it, the first pay to win weapon, because the people who pay right away get it right away. Everyone else is slowly going to get it. Is it a good weapon even without the overboost 11? Yes, it is going to be the difference from beating up Ramu because Zack is very good as a character overall. He isn't the best main DPS on your team, but he is still a strong character and you can't ignore the rest of this setup. Not only does it lower power defense and it lowers water resistance down, even though it's not max, it's still doing 2 things in one character, which saves up ATB gauge for your other characters to cast whatever they want. Versus you've got to cast a breach on, let's just say, your healer, and then Zack uses a 2 tier, and now you have 3 tiers, but that costs you 2 characters ATB gauge. Where this, you just do the 2 tiers down and the 1 tier down, and that's enough for most of the content in this game. You actually don't need multiple copies. But overall, its R abilities are crazy. If you get 6 copies of this, physical boost 46. If you max this out, 54. There's only 3 weapons in the game currently that do that. That's Tifa's motor drive, Lucia's new weapon, the Bald Eagle, and now Black Whiskers. Only 3 weapons that have 34, and only 2 weapons that come with 54, and a 36. right? So if we go into the wish list and we go to Tifa really quickly, Motor Drive is the other one I'm talking about. Those R abilities are stacked. Absolutely. So maxed out, 54, but only 24 wind potency, not 36. And Lucia is the other one that matches this weapon when it comes to R abilities at maxed out 54, 36. So same idea, but the Bald Eagle is technically better in my opinion because you can, with one copy, get 3 tiered down. If you're a whale, Zack weapon's really good because it does 2 things in one, which is really nice. So, with that being said, Zack's weapon is not a must, but it's definitely a nice nice kit to have on Zack. The other thing that goes along with it, because he has all this in the back here, because this is a non-elemental, really bad potency weapon, 340 non-elemental. It is crit worthy, so you could make a crit build eventually, but it's only 340. A materia on a 20% slot is going to be just as good as this, but with weakness in it. So, what they do to make up for that, they did give physical 20%, but they gave a water ability damage plus 30%. So you're going to put a water blow on this slot, 3-star or 4-star, and you're going to do a ton of damage. It's a beautiful materia slot for water, and on top of it, this weapon also has a sigil breaker. This will be in your main hand, especially if you're facing water, and it will be in your main hand because it has the most boost attack for Zack. So when you stack with his Winehinder or something else to get those really big non-elemental potency builds in there, thanks for the follow over on Twitch, it's overall a great weapon. And when you take that R ability 32, you only need 23 more physical attack up. Here's where his costume comes in play. He's got physical attack 10 points, bringing that down to only 1 sub-weapon in the back. And if you take something like Cloud's Maritime Sword and put it as a sub-weapon, he now has max physical attack R ability, and all his other weapons on his sub-slots or his offhand can be whatever you want because you get boost HP off of here. So having boost HP here is actually a good thing because there's many times where we got to go on a quest and we have all this strength, we have level 5, whatever potency of element, but we get one-shotted. And then we have to take away some of our potency to add some HP weapons, and then our build gets hurt. But instead, you just put on this costume. It's actually his best costume right now. All his other costumes are kind of iffy. This actually has really good stats compared to his other ones. But 10 points alone gets you 15% increase of HP, and that's the make or break for a lot of quests. So his costume and his weapon go hand in hand, obviously, and it is overall not a bad pickup. Is it amazing? Is it needed? No. The water resist down, if you're free to play or someone who's not going to get a maxed out version, is just like picking up a breach materia. It will make a difference, but not enough to justify pulling just for the weapon. The costume is a next tier main DPS main character. No, but does it give Zack a good setup? Yes. These two put together makes him a very good physical damage dealer. You just got to look at the other sub weapons that he has and he has to equip. There's certain builds you can do, but this does give Zack more viable setups, especially when you get into like the wind setup, because now you have a physical, right, wind setup. You put this in your sub weapon, or you can put it in your main hand, but sub weapon plus that, now all your sub weapons, because you have the costume, can be whatever, all wind potency back there. So keep that in consideration. Really good. Let's jump over to Glenn now. All right, so Glenn, same idea. Costume. I think this is better. I don't care about Glenn or the first soldier characters because they aren't OG Final Fantasy VII. I came to play this game because of nostalgia. I have no nostalgia off these characters, but you can't deny how badass this Sleepy Hollow character looking costume. Love it. Absolutely. Weapon looks amazing, and the wallpaper. Go check out the wallpaper. Just click on the 3 dots on the top right. It looks so good. But let's talk about the weapon and let's talk about the costume. I'm going to start off with the costume because it's easier to talk about. It's the exact same idea. You have boost HP on your costume, so your sub weapons no longer need to be moved around to get some HP, which frees you up to have max wind potency, water potency, fire potency, R ability, physical attack, whatever you want. Right? Having it over here is not a bad thing. And then it's got 10 points into boost physical, which allows you to get into that higher boost physical without sacrificing a bunch of sub weapons. But when it comes to Glenn, he has a little bit of an issue with this costume and his weapon having that physical attack up because the rest of his kit doesn't have anything with physical attack up. There's not one weapon out of all these that boost it. So jump into one of his weapons. Example, boost attack, which boosts his physical and magical, but it's its own separate R ability. It doesn't stack with that costume, right? Same thing with all the other weapons here. It's Zack's a utility defense team player, buff, debuff kind of character. He's not going to be your main DPS. You're not going to get a big amount of damage out of him unless you have multiple copies of any weapon, then any character can be strong. But you have nothing to stack with that costume when it comes to physical attack boost. But his weapon, in the other hand, does have it. So again, weapon and that go hand in hand, but a maxed out version is only 27 points and you don't have anything else in his kit. So you have to rely on your sub weapons, which usually you rely on them for certain potencies. So with that being said, what does he have for R abilities? Really good. He's got boost ability, potency, and physical, which they're not the max. This one's 36 points, but even on his main hand, fully maxed out, that's only a 30% increase, where the physical and magical versions are way better, but it is another version of these. There's not a lot of copies of weapons that have boost ability potency, so a new addition is a good addition, right? You can't go wrong. Weapon is great. Now, overall, the stats aren't in the 500s like Zack's weapon, right? Zack's weapon, let me go back real quick because I didn't talk about that. You look at it and you max that out or not max it out, 540 stat wise, right? Level 90, one copy, 225. When you go back to Glenn over here, and I'm going to emphasize this because Glenn is that support character. He's not your main DPS. He's not going to be doing big damage like everyone else. Magic attack 194, 182. Nothing goes over 200. Nothing hits over 500. Not even 500 itself. So, what makes this weapon good? This is the first weapon in the game to boost physical attack. It is Sephiroth's magic weapon, but physical attack, but there's more. It also allows you to buff anybody on the team. One copy alone will do you mid buff or double cast it for high buff. So 8 ATB to get 30 seconds of high potency up. Might be different because you got to recast it, extended timer, plus all that, right? But it is the first weapon to buff physical attack, but not only that, it's not greedy like Sephiroth. He's your support character. Glenn is helping out the team. It also gives you regen and a little bit of a heal to anyone on the team, which is really, really nice. So good R abilities, good ability, and then the materia back here is your typical 10%, 20%, 20%. So when you mix Glenn's setup and you put it all together, you put this in the main hand or the sub hand, whatever you're going for, Glenn doesn't have the amount of strength that everyone else does. So when you first think of a setup for Glenn and trying to combine his weapons together to give him some kind of damage, this being here doesn't give you any potency, doesn't give you like water attack, fire attack, no element potency, which is the strongest in the game. And when you look at his other weapons, they don't really add that R ability to increase his damage. They do have some fire here, some that there, but that's about it. He's more of a supporter. So when you run something like Zack, Cloud, and Glenn in the same party, you're missing a little bit of heals. You can use Cloud's AoE heal weapon, but or everyone just runs Cure. But those three together would make a crazy water setup. Glenn buffs Cloud. Cloud has Maritime Sword plus his costume. Zack has his water materia boosting plus water resist down. They're just gonna kill water setups like nothing, right? Or you take one of them away and you keep them, but he can boost any physical attack up of any element because he's boosting that physical attack. The thing is, when you look at real setups, and I've been using this, a lot of people are using this, currently under maintenance, so I'm going to keep this on the screen. When you look at a setup like mine, or other people, we use two big damage dealers and a healer, and now a healer is a sub DPS because they heal, add that utility, like if you use Matt as your healer, you're going to lower the enemy's defense down, magic defense down. That way, Aerith and Sephiroth can do their magic setup. So you have your magic defense down, you have a healer, and then you have two big damage dealers. Sephiroth buffs himself, Aerith has crazy damage with an umbrella, or you're running a team like Cloud and Sephiroth, right? Either physical or physical magical on Sephiroth, and then a healer who again is a sub DPS because you don't need a lot of heals. So you make your healer a sub DPS. That team has so much power where if you bring in Glenn being the support character who doesn't have a real setup with good R abilities to mix, is gonna go, yeah, cool, Cloud, boost 3 attack up, but then when Glenn's attacking and he's not buffing, he's not really doing damage versus two main DPS who are just like bam, 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 bam. This setup, Glenn goes, boost, okay, now I'm gonna lower the enemy's physical defense, right? This character is just supporting a 1 DPS where you could run 2 DPS, a healer who has support and also can DPS. You get what I'm saying? Right? So it's like These are good weapons, good R abilities, fantastic. They work. And this is why I say pull for husbandos and waifus, because everything works in this game. Even though I'm giving you scenarios where it could be better, it could just be as much as that setup just with this one. You just got to realize where you're dedicating all your gems. Are you pulling for these costumes? Do you like the idea of having more HP and a little bit of a boost? Or do you like that 35% elemental damage, which I think is one of the best things in this game? So all that knowledge doesn't mean if you pull Glenn and his weapon, he's not going to do damage. He's going to do damage, especially if you have the good sub-weapons from other characters in his... Yeah, you can make up for that. But everything you have to adjust in the front really hurts your back sub-weapon. So if your main hand and your offhand don't stack together nicely for our abilities, that character starts lacking in damage. Which again, Glenn is a support character, so that's not really a real argument. But when you look at a full DPS team versus a support and a DPS with a healer, it gets a little iffy. There's going to be niche moments where this works really well, but in the end, it's up to you guys. Pull for it. That's just my ideas as I looked at these weapons and I thought about it. I'm like, but what about this scenario? What if you can, like, compare it to this, a DPS race? What if you compare it to this? You don't want to be spending time buffing, then debuffing, and doing small damage because you have to rely on materia on Glenn's weapon if he's going full support. Yeah, you can do other things. He has other weapons, I know, right? That he has elements in as well. But yeah, that's the idea. So, Zack, Glenn, looking cool, looking great. I like Glenn's costume way more than Zack's. I think they could have done Zack a little bit better. But either one, have fun, enjoy, pull, and now I gotta deal with this maintenance. So I can't show you the Iron Giant till in the morning, which means I get sleep. So let's shut down everything. One big advice is Killer Hornet and the umbrella from Aerith. So Matt's new weapon and Aerith's Sun Umbrella. Put those on your wish list. They work for every character. Matt's for physical characters, umbrellas for magical characters. You don't have to use Matt and you don't have to use Aerith. Those go into sub-weapons. Use them on every single character that wants physical or magical and try to max them out to overboost 11. You won't regret it. They're powerful, they're amazing, and they work on everyone. So, with that being said, I hope you guys enjoyed this video. Thank you so much for watching. Keep on smiling, and I'll smell you later.